Next question comes from Bandana Bush on YouTube. Thanks for running this channel. You're welcome. I've been watching off and on for a while now. I'm currently the lead cellarman in a 30,000 barrel a year brewery, and I'm leaving to be the brewer of a 300 barrel brewery, 300 barrels a year, 3-barrel system. Can you make a video with tips on how to obtain maximum yield out of the fermenter? Yeah. And this is it, man. And this is it. Bandana Bush. I don't know how I feel about that name, but we'll roll with it. Few things. So first, off the top, remember most fermenters have 15 to 20% headspace. So if you have a 5-barrel tank, 3-barrel tank, you expect to have 15 to 20% more headspace in there. Now, you don't want to fill it until it's coming out of the top. All right. But keep that in mind. If you have a CIP arm coming off the top of your tank, and that alone, that spray ball is hanging down into that headspace, and you're not going to be filling right up to the top. So it can come down like that. But if you have a vent arm, sometimes that vent, you have a second arm, the vent arm, sometimes that's further up in the dome, and you actually have more headspace to work with right there. Or you actually have the full headspace to work with. Those are just a couple of things to think about. First of all, the first way to be maximizing your yield out of your fermenter. There might be some things I forgot, but I think these are pretty good. And listen to my words. Get the maximum volume of boiling wort into your kettle as possible safely. Not get as much wort into your kettle as possible, but boiling wort into your kettle safely. There's that horrendous episode that they seem to post a handful of times a year for Master Brewers Association podcast, where it was just like called Screaming or something like that. I don't know. I'm not belittling anything. This woman got burned and it was terrible. You don't need to listen to that podcast more than once. It's one of the worst injuries you can get in our field. But make sure that you are getting as much wort as you can into your vessel and you are able to boil it safely. There are boil aids that can keep foam down. The kettle that we worked with at Sonder had a boil over sensor, fancy. But not very few people have that. So sometimes you can use a defoamer, use as little as possible. That's just my personal opinion as far as things like that go. But yes, so do try to get as much wort as possible into that kettle safely. Next, I would use higher alpha hops, flowable hop products on the hot side and cold side, all in an aim to reduce wort or beer absorption. Okay, remember when you're dropping those pellets in, they're going to be sucking up wort, sucking up beer. And you don't want that because you're trying to maximize volume out the backside with this particular question that you asked me. Another option is a hop aid anti-foam, which can help on the cold side. So if you're thinking you're going to be blowing all this beer and Kreuzen out of your tanks, there is actually a hop-derived, I'm forgetting who it's from, but it's actually called Hop Aid, all one word, HOPAID. Google that and anti-foam and see what you come up with. You can get the manufacturer there. Sounds like some compelling stuff for people that are like, oh, I just don't like pouring junk into my beer. This is hop-derived, so, maybe you can feel good about it. But should really knock that Kreuzen level back, keep that ferment in the tank, potentially maximizing your yield coming out of your tank. Another option might be making sure that you're getting a good, solid cold store on your beer. The more haze you drop out, the more volume of clear beer you can pull. Also consider some brewing aids. I am a big fan of a couple of them, which are Brewers Clarex, for one, which is supposed to be something that will help on the haze side and the clarification side. And it has some gluten reducing functions as well, if that's something that you're interested in. But they do sell it as a way of being able to move beer a little bit faster, not being able to being able to get a beer clearer faster. Filter aid as well, right? And then kind of goes without saying, but more gently hot beers are going to get you more volume. That hazy that you're dry hopping at 4 to 6 pounds per barrel, you're going to have some loss. But that light lager, boy, she's going to be full volume, right? So maybe measure that into your equation as well. But yeah, I think those are some high level ways of looking at that, and that's how I would approach it. Bandana Bush. Thanks for the question.